that you're doing a phenomenal job. You may not feel like it, but the way that you're viewing your child's experience is not typically not the way that they're viewing them. We look at ourselves through a very critical lens, and our children are more enamored than we would believe. And the things you're not noticing are the things that they're noticing.
All right. Technical difficulties at their peak this morning, but we're excited.
So happy to have you here, connecting through social curators. That's so nice. I made already some nice friends through social curators. So
It's an awesome community.
yes, it is. It is. So your name is Brieanna. Is that right?
Brieanna.
Brieanna. You say Brieanna. Okay. I just want to make sure I get you right.
Yes, and I appreciate that.
Sure. I know name meaning people like change. I'm from Brazil. Simone. So like I start like feel like a money. So like
Yeah.
people get the music of it, but it's good. But I always say when somebody calls me Simone, it feels so nice and familiar. It's like, just home. It feels just a little bit of home.
Yes, that's funny.
Yeah. So Brianna, you are a productivity coach, business and productivity coach for busy moms.
Busy mamas, yes.
Yes. Like, oh, moms are busy. I don't know. I have to see one that is not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know her. I've never met her before personally.
Yeah, neither did I. Like I have 4 sisters, and yeah, all of them moms. One stopped working once she became a mom, I believe part of the job, but one was like full-time mom. She had 3 kids, but she was busy too. It's like it's like I start changing for calling working mom to professional moms.
Professional moms, yes.
Because like we are all working moms.
We are.
And people need to see that. Like I want to share more mom stories so people can see like that we are all working moms.
We're doing the stuff. Yeah, it's and I'm someone who was because I'm still a stay-at-home mom, right? So when I used to say full-time stay-at-home mom, like as in that was my only job, but I'm like, because it's always your job, but it's like, okay, are you doing that solely or you're doing that alongside something else, whether that be having your own business or working in the corporate space?
Yeah. It's time to like I'm have a business from home. I work from home. But so I'm really curious to know about your story, how you with 3 little ones, you are a productivity coach. Like I want to learn from you, and I know many wants to learn from you too.
Yes. So I really got into this space, was very much a like gradual thing. I tell people I'm a God girl, and I feel like God tried to tell me pretty early on that I was taking on too many roles, but I didn't want to listen. So I actually passed out of my car when I was 7 months pregnant with my oldest son, and that was extremely scary. But it showed me I was just taking on too many things. And from there, I scaled back a little bit. But I was just talking with some ladies on my Bible studies that I do this morning. I was saying, the thing that I think a lot of women struggle with is we can clear our plates of certain responsibilities, but then we add other ones right back in, right? So it's like, okay, you stop volunteering at the school, but then you start taking on like volunteering at the local rec center. And, we really don't do a great job at building in margin into our lives. And that's really something that I have to walk out myself. And as I've been walking through this journey of figuring out what it looks like to not be all the things, right? Where people are like, oh, I do all the things. What I'm navigating of saying, no, I'm actually trying not to do all the things on purpose. It's been a really great journey. And when I think about productivity, I don't think about it in the same way that people think of like, this means you're getting 8,000 things done a day. For me, I look at it the way that you think about, plants, right? Like if you have produce, that means that there was good fruit or vegetables or something that you were able to glean. And it's the same thing with us. It's not about the volume, right? Like but was there any kind of harvest from what it is that you were producing, creating? And so that's how I kind of look at it. Not so much of check 8,000 things off your list before you go to bed tonight. It's like, okay, if you get 3 things done this week, what does that look like, right? And not just in one space. How does it look like to have holistic productivity where you're going to bed at a decent time and your business is doing well and you're spending time with your family? So that's what productivity means to me. It's like producing good fruit, being able to reap the harvest from all the seeds that we're constantly planting as women, as moms, as human beings.
That's wonderful. It's a really different approach. And I thought like I start changing, like I see people kind of proudly share on social media, oh, my to-do list for today. And like on a midday, like they checked a few. I have mentally like some things that I need to do, like this is a must for today. And then in the midday, one of the other things that I have that I need to do, like, okay, this can be, like move forward. I'm just want to make sure this one is done. Because as a mom, like, one day midday, I got a call from school that my daughter is sick. So what do? You cannot beat yourself up.
Yeah.
Gotta be gentle to yourself. Okay, I was the one thing I need to do. Did you do that? Okay, good. Did you pick up your kid for school when she was sick? All right, you did that. He was there for her. So
yeah. No, totally agree. And I think if we would look at things like that more, then the pressure would be released, right? Because the pressure that so many women are feeling and the stress, like studies are showing that it's not benefiting us, right? It's showing, the heart women. Someone was sharing with me today that here in the U.S., like women of color are like the thing that's killing more women of color than anything else is heart-related conditions that are tied back to stress. So having a heart attack because you're so stressed, because you're taking on so much. And so if we've reached a point where there's a physical manifestation of all the things we're feeling internally, spiritually, emotionally, that's when we know that we need to be shifting and doing some things differently.
Oh, definitely. And I'm glad that you brought that up because overall, I already heard that like many women in general, not only moms, many women, they have a higher risk of having a heart attack because they take so much and they don't share that they are overwhelmed. They are carrying so much. And what I see, I'm so glad that having, bringing Black people in to share the stories, because what I hear about moms, the death rate and the care for Black women in hospitals and all this stuff is so much higher. It's scary. It's just, and in the United States, that we should have the resources to care for these moms. And it's heartbreaking. And just yesterday, even I was talking to another mom, something completely not related. It's actually for like a race. We end up just kind of including that, but was about how much change, I think, in the fall last year. I don't remember exactly the number of years. The C-section between was happening before and what's happening now. I think before it was like 1 to 10, and now it's 1 every 3 months. And I was sharing with her my feelings about that. Like, I see there's 2 sides that we need to kind of see what is happening. Many moms are having choices now. They want to have a planned labor. They want to choose when the baby was born because of schedule or work or whatever reason. And you say, yeah, mostly we need to just to be careful that it's not like something kind of put into them, oh, this is better for you. No, she needs to have this choice. And that's the communication you have to have. Share the story, share why did you choose a C-section? Was your choice, or was a healthy, like, a health related choice, or just you were put in your mind, and then in the end was a financial benefit for the provider.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think, again, if we would recognize just some of the things that we've adopted, that we've just kind of taken on because it's like, well, this is the way people have always done it, so I guess this is fine. and then look at where we can make adjustments, we'd be in a different position. And I think that that's where, you are seeing more women of color pushing for home births, because they don't necessarily feel like people in the medical system have their best interest in mind. And, for me, I actually had a forced C-section, or an emergency C-section. My oldest, when I was pregnant with him, my placenta abrupted. And so because it abrupted, I was like, his heart rate was dropping, and they didn't know what was going on. And so when they, did the incision, they're like, oh, your placenta thinks that you already had the baby. It's coming off of your uterus already. And I was like, that's crazy, right? So, and so my subsequent children, I elected to, because of the risks and things like that. But yeah.
There you go. You have a whole, like, you have a story that why there was like a choice, because you felt safer, because you already had that happen to you. And how far were you on the first one?
Jaden was like 40 weeks. Like, it wasn't, we weren't at the 41 week mark where they're like, legally we have to take him or whatever, but he definitely took his time.
Okay. All right. So that's good. That's good. It wasn't like a crazy earlier and then you have
no, not at all.
That's good.
And I actually went into labor naturally that morning, but it just wasn't progressing. And then they noticed that his heart rate was dropping. So those two things combined are what ultimately led to him being born from a C-section.
All right. And now going back to the way you're helping with busy moms now, how did you come up with having these 3 little ones around the house, and how do you empower yourself and say, I can do this and I can help now busy moms? Because most of the things that we do as moms, our business is based on our experience. So that's what I'm guessing. It's the way you are helping moms now.
Yeah. I, like many people during the pandemic, felt very isolated and borderline like crazy, right? I was just like, how am I going to make it through this? Like, how are we going to get on the other side? My mental is not in a really good place. And, I tell people that seeing the number of women that were leaving the workforce because they couldn't afford childcare, or because, maybe the daycare they sent their children to closed. Obviously, schools were closed. My heart just, I won't say it broke, because motherhood is good work and it's fulfilling work, right? But I just know, because I told people, even before the pandemic, I felt like I had been living the pandemic lifestyle of not really getting out of the house much, kind of being isolated, not really doing a lot of things. And so because I've been through that, I knew it was going to be a culture shock for people who are experiencing it for the first time. And so I wanted to kind of come in and help that need. And then also I was acknowledging that there probably are people, like, just because these people are leaving their jobs, they probably still need to generate some income for their family. So I thought it would be a huge opportunity to be able to come alongside them and help them to monetize some of their talents and gifts that they had already had been using in corporate.
Got it. And did you have like experiences outside before having your children on doing this type of help? Because I see you can help from the start a business, or you have an idea and you want to put that idea together. They can also work with you for that purpose as well, not just when they already have the business and they want to go like escalate, but you also help from the start, right?
Absolutely, because there are so many things that people just don't realize could be like something that they monetize, or they have one idea and they don't realize that that one idea could turn into multiple income streams. So they don't realize, oh, wow, I can make this a digital download. I can also offer consulting services, and I can make this into a course or a coaching program. And so I help them with that portion of it. And my background is actually in magazine design and digital marketing. So when I first graduated from, and I was doing website design as well, when I first graduated from high school, high school. When I first graduated from college, I was helping out my aunt who has a nonprofit here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area because they needed a website. They didn't have one at the time. And they also needed some assistance telling their story online. And I was just able to see how many nonprofits, small businesses had these phenomenal stories, but they weren't reaching anyone because they did not have an online presence. And so being able to take that same kind of framework that I created for my small business and nonprofit clients and then shift it to the coaching space for my one-on-one clients with my moms. And then I have a group coaching like membership style program called Master Your Momentum. It was really affirming because, we never know what the lesson is for while we're going through it. But looking back, I'm like, wow, I've actually been doing this for almost a decade, which sounds nuts, especially as someone who is only 32. But I came out of college doing this work and I continue to do it. And even if the audience has shifted and changed, I've only learned more. I've taken a lot of lessons through my own business as well. And to be able to tell clients, okay, here's what you don't want to do. Here are the places you need to get help up front. I'm really big on anyone who works one-on-one with me. We set up their systems. That's a part of one of our coaching sessions because I'm like, hey, you are a mother, you are working your business. And a lot of my clients are also working in a corporate space as well until they can get their business that they're starting to a place where it can replace their income. So I'm like, because you have those different balls in the air, let's work on the systems that you need to put in place so that you're not feeling like, okay, I'm overwhelmed already. And when moms get overwhelmed, we just stop, right? Like when people get overwhelmed, we stop. And that's what I was seeing with some of my early on clients is that we'd get the website done, we'd get the marketing plan done, and then I just wouldn't hear anything from them. And I'm like, hey girl, what happened? And they're like, I don't know, I just got so overwhelmed. When you were coaching me, I felt like I could do it, but now I'm like, I don't know if I can do it anymore, And so I saw that as an opportunity to really come alongside them. And that's one of the things that pushed me to launch this membership because I said, okay, I don't want you to just even feel like you only have support from me. Here are other sisters, women, mothers who are also building something from scratch. And here are the systems that they're implementing to make sure that it works for them and for their family.
That's wonderful. And that's one thing we see inside of a social creator when we participate on these coaching calls with Jasmine. Just a few times I have requested to talk, but I learned so much when somebody else talking, because sometimes they just have the question that you didn't think about it, but oh, wow, that's exactly what I needed. And that's when you have community, when you have this, that you share your experiences. That's how you get like, oh, I needed just that. And when I'm telling you, just this morning, I have a part of these coffee chat conversations that say, when I'm sharing all these stories that I'm doing now, these conversations, the same way I'm doing with you. And I see like how I see myself on each one of you moms, because different parts of my life or in a personal or in a professional, we go through similar situations. And this is the fulfilling about sharing and having these connections with these experiences. And that's how you grow into making your business stronger, because working with these moms, you are experiencing what they are experiencing. And you have more, you enrich in your business by having more information, more feedback.
Yes. I love what you said about getting so much benefit from others in the community, right? Like, because sometimes people are like, well, I didn't get to ask my question. And then someone asks a question. You're like, I didn't even think to ask that, but I'm glad they did because I can write that down, right? And I think that sometimes people feel like that's a value you can only get in a one-on-one setting. And I've just seen that that's not it's really what you put into it is what you'll get out of it. So if you also make yourself a resource to other people, you'll be surprised by the amount of help that you'll have. And again, I apply that same thing to motherhood. I was talking about that this morning as well. Like, we have to lean on people. We have to come from a space of believing that people actually do want to help us, because telling ourselves that we're doing it alone or that we don't have support leads to that bitterness. It leads to that anger, and it does lead to that overwhelm of like, flip the table, close the computer, put the children outside. Like, I'm done, right?
Yes. And take a little time to look for this information, because there is help for any level of income you have. You have a lot of free information, you have a lower cost, and then you have, when you're in a better place, you have a high income. So, and growth is not overnight. It takes time. So this first client that you had, they would stop doing. They maybe didn't see a result. It's like, oh, I cannot do it because nothing's happening. But no, you give little bit every day.
Just like watering your flowers, right? Like
Yes.
you can't, or putting a seed in the ground. You can't be like, oh, well, it's not doing anything. Let me pull the seed out of the ground. It's like, sis, you just put it in there. Give it some time, water it, put it. Do you have it in the right positioning for the sun, right? Like, does it have, is it in good soil? I talk to my mamas about that as well. Sometimes things aren't thriving because maybe this isn't the right time. Is this the season for it, right? There are certain plants, if you plant them in the summer, they're going to die because they're not built for that kind of heat. But if you plant them in the fall, or they're winter plants, right? They thrive because that's their season to be growing. And so we have to do this, have that same kind of mindset around our business and say, okay, maybe this didn't work out. Maybe I reintroduce it again in 3 months and just see how that goes. And I think if women and moms would be willing to be patient enough to do that work, we would see so many businesses start to thrive because people had the patience to say, hey, I'm believing that this is what I'm supposed to do. And I'm willing to stick with this long enough to find the right timing.
Yes, definitely. Or even sometimes you need to kind of just switch the business around a little bit, just tweak. And that's when it comes like for help, when somebody else from outside can see that, oh, how we can work on this now and make it stronger now, and you can go back to that on a different time. So that's very insightful.
Yes.
I want to make a few questions here that I'm doing these conversations on a very mom side related. So how old are your kids now?
My children are 5, 4, and 2.
Oh, wow. They're very little still.
Yes.
And so going through this since the time you were pregnant for the first one up to today that you have these kids at home, what do you feel would be the hardest decision that you ever had to make, or ever like a moment that you have to go through as a mom? How do you feel that you could share with us what is the hardest one?
I think the decision to homeschool was really hard because I dealt with some kind of doubt, of like, can you really do this? Like, are you really qualified to do this? And of course, there was the fear of like, well, I don't want them to fall behind, or I don't want them to miss out, or of course, people always, when you bring up homeschooling, they're like, well, are they going to get enough social interaction? Which my children get plenty. One, they're one of 3, so they interact with each other, right? But 2, we're really involved with our church. We have an awesome community down the street that we're really involved. I'm like, they're around kids all of the time. So that was a hard decision because I think as moms, where we're very unique, and I as being in a household full of men, little men, and my husband, right? I tell them all the time, I said, what's so interesting is that I feel like you all have the quote unquote benefit of just thinking about you. But women, we are inherently built and wired to think about everyone. I tell my oldest son, I said, when I got up this morning, I didn't just think about me. I thought about you. I thought about your brothers. I thought about your dad. I'm praying about, this thing going on. I'm thinking about your Nana and your Papa because they're out of town. I'm thinking about everybody. And I'm like, who's thinking about me? I don't know, but I hope somebody's thinking about me, right? And that's really where other mothers come into play, because you do have the mom friends who'll send you that text like, hey, just checking in. Hey, just want to see how you're doing. But yeah, that decision to homeschool was hard because there was a fear of, this seems right. This seems like what I'm supposed to do. But what if I mess it up? What if I position them wrongly? And something that I told everyone when we were making the decision, kind of getting ahead of whatever objections I thought people would probably have. I said, Jaden will be in 1st grade next year. I said, so if this whole thing is a dumpster fire, then we'll just re-enroll him in school and he'll go right along with everybody else and it'll be like nothing happened, right? But thankfully, it's really been the opposite. I've really been able to see him thrive in a homeschool environment. And, towards the end of the year last year, he was actually getting a lot of notes home about his behavior. And his teacher his teacher, not just like children, his specific teacher told me, she said, Bree, he's just really not being challenged enough. She said, so he's finishing his work and then he's bored and then he's moving on. You know, he wants to move on to something else, but we're still working on this. And so I took that to heart and I said, okay, well then that's something that I can offer in a homeschool environment, because at the end of the day, I've worked in the school system before. You have to teach to the class. It's not a one-on-one situation. And a lot of these classes are they're overpopulated. So if you have 30, even if you have a teacher's assistant, that's still 15 people per person. And it's so affirming, because I actually saw her at the grocery store last fall, like after school had already started, and she said, hey, and I was like, oh my gosh, so good to see you. And so she asked, she said, I haven't seen Jaden around the school. She said, where is he this year? I said, oh, he's actually home with me. And at first she thought I was talking about like, no, I know he's not at the grocery store with you, but like, where is he for school? And I said, oh, I'm homeschooling. And then she literally, without like even a pause, she said, good for you. Nice. Good for you. She said, she said, I love my job. I really do. She said, but the administration has made it so hard to really give the kids everything that they need. And she said, and I have to kind of close off what's going on outside of my classroom and just be like, these are the people I've been entrusted with, and I'm going to make sure that they get everything that they can from me. And I had been wavering right towards the end of the year if I was going to homeschool, because I met one of the teachers who teaches kindergarten, which is where Jaden is right now, as far as his age group. And I was like, well, if he had her as a teacher, I'll just request her as a teacher. Then I'd be fine if we didn't homeschool. And then I found out she was leaving the school district to go to a different city. And I was like, well, if I needed any last confirmation, this is it, right? So that was a very difficult decision. It was hard. It's also very sacrificial because my children are around me all the time, right? But the benefits have definitely far surpassed the sacrifices.
Wow, Brieanna, I applaud you. I applaud you because I did, let's say, online education during pandemic. That was from March up to early June for them to complete the year, and then in the fall they were able to go back to school. But it was hard. It was like 3 months, 4 months almost, and I was like, I don't know how you do it. Your moms, I don't know how to do. Of course, well, my youngest, she was in pre-K, and my oldest, he was on third. But still, like there were a few activities, but getting them to sit, to pay attention, and to do these few activities, just to not fall behind, to be able to do the test, to be able to, and also I wanted them to feel the school is still, you got learning to do. You're not done with school. And but if I have to do like a full program at home, I wouldn't be able to. And but I see all the reasons, and I work with the school and the PTA at school, and we trying to get more parents to get involved, because they don't understand that PTA, it is for the parents to come and get involved and know more about school. But the few they come and share, they share how much the district and overall it comes from the higher level are failing on the teachers, and then teachers consequently they are failing on the students because they don't have enough structure, or they don't have enough teachers for the school. Good teachers are leaving this district. So all the things that you just shared, I seen this in my community as well, and this is heartbreaking. And one mom, the son is moving from elementary to middle school, and also she's deciding to do at school. One is going to 5th grade. She's pulling him out to homeschool. Like, wow, I think that's great that you're doing, but the reason is not the right reason. That what breaks me. And yours was the first decision was the great, because he needed to be more challenged. But also, if they have less kids in school, they could create a class for high achiever kids and get them to work more on those and continue. And that's something that this country needs to pay more attention to that. I come from Brazil. I could see this happening there. I was just talking to my kids the other day. They're like, we are just having this low, way less hours of school. Like I was going 4 hours to school, and here like 7 hours, you get all this learning for school, but still they don't have all the support that they need, and that's heartbreaking. So going to a more fun part. So it still have a long way into motherhood. They still little your kids, but what is the thing, or maybe tradition that you created, or an experience that you live with them so far that you love to go back and live that again, or you made that something into a family tradition that you like to, you do that, you repeat, or something you're planning to do and repeat that with the kids?
And so I really have a couple. One, because business is business, right? I've started doing staycations with them at least once a quarter. When my business got to a place where I could quote unquote afford it, because when people say afford, I'm like, we can make room for certain things. Yes, certain bills is like, no, I really don't see that in the budget, but we can move some things around. So when I was in a position where I was like, okay, I have enough discretionary income coming in that we can make this an investment. After each quarter, we'll celebrate what happened, and I'm like, y'all are 2, 4, and 5, so you're probably like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm just excited that we go into a hotel. That's fine, but it's been an opportunity for me to unplug with them, have fun with them, because I want them, and something I talk to my oldest about especially is reward coming from work, right? Like we work hard, but we can enjoy the work that we've done. Because I think that in previous generations, it was just we work hard to work hard to work hard to make the money to work hard, right? And so for me, I'm trying to show them, hey, it's like work hard, play hard type of thing, right? So that's something that we started doing last fall. We're actually doing another staycation next week, which is a little early. It's not technically the third quarter of the year, but I'm in the middle of a launch for my membership. So I was like, okay, when mommy's done with this launch, then we're going to do our staycation. And then every Friday we do game night with our sons. So my closet that's in my prayer closet, the top shelf is full of games like Operation and Monopoly and Dominoes, like just all of the games. Sorry, games I played as a kid. So that's been really fun to introduce them to games that I loved. And then it's an unplugging moment, right? Because initially we were doing movie nights on Fridays, which we still will watch a movie. But the thing I realized, I said, okay, I want to use this time to connect with my kids. And there's only so much connection going on with both all of us just staring at the screen, and then more than likely at least 2 out of the 3 of y'all are going to fall asleep, and then we're just putting you in your beds, right? So playing games with them, especially board games, is fun because I can see how their minds work and how they think about certain things. And also teaching them strategy with homeschool. Of course, everything is a lesson. So with if we're playing Uno or something like that, then it's like, okay, what number is this? All right, how does this, how many more do you need to get to this number? Just different things like that. It's been really fun. So those are 2 things that I've implemented that help me to also show them, like, I'm not just tolerating you. I really enjoy your presence. I love us as a family. You're not a burden.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's beautiful. I love that too. I have a little split like schedule. It changed a lot during the week because I'm divorced. So there's some things that we do. And one thing I introduced you this year is doing the weekly win. What is the best thing that happened to you this week? So we kind of do like an end of the week on Sunday, or if something that happens on Sunday, then we do a Monday. Okay, what was the last week then? So they kind of like expecting this already. So it's nice. And I love that you're creating that, and you bringing that space into your home. And one last thing here, when we think, like we just shared a lot of this, like how moms we fill so many spaces. But when you think about yourself as a mom, as a woman, what would you like to share that how you feel, like how you, when you talk about yourself, like I am a mom, I am a coach, a professional, a woman, a wife. So what would you like, the words that would come to your mind that would like to share?
Definitely a woman of faith. My faith is like fundamental in my life. I would not be here because God has pulled me out of the muck and the mire. So that's definitely something that I associate myself with. A woman of endurance, because I've been through a lot of tough things. And have lived through those things, right? So that's an encouragement for me, because sometimes I have to remind myself, girl, this is not the first thing you've ever experienced. You've done hard before and you can do hard again. I would also say someone who is really about experiences and community. Like I'm just that person. It's funny, I realized that even over Christmas break, me and my sister were thinking about gifts for my parents. And I said, you know what? My sister's really good at the thoughtful, like, kind of things that you might get from, a personalization.com, or just like frames that are personalized, those kinds of things. She's so good at that. And I said, I'm an experienced person. So we ended up gifting my mom with a paint and sip night at a place here in Dallas. And then with my dad, we went axe throwing with him. And I'm like, man, I love that, because it really shows it's the experience, and then a memory was just made, right? So if we go out to lunch or dinner, I'm also going to try and have like table topics. So we really will think about the things that happened in that moment, like ways to mark this moment. So those are definitely things that I would associate with myself: my faith, community, experiences, and endurance.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. Is there anything else you'd like to share about yourself, about your work, your family, anything you'd like to add here?
Absolutely. One, I just want to let every mom who's watching this know that you're doing a phenomenal job. You may not feel like it, but the way that you're viewing your child's experiences is not typically not the way that they're viewing them. We look at ourselves through a very critical lens, and our children are more enamored than we would believe. And the things that you're not noticing are the things that they're noticing, right? I asked my son, or one day I gave my boys their breakfast, and one of my sons said, "Thank you for making us breakfast every morning." And I just love the fact that he noticed that. And not only that he noticed it, but he paid attention to it. And people might think, oh, I need to get them into all these extracurricular activities. I need to make sure that they have a huge group of friends. But me just making breakfast every morning meant a lot to him. So that's my first thing that I would say. Second thing, if you're someone who really battles with kind of like the priorities of it all, or you feel like you're someone who really battles with overwhelm or anxiety, I would definitely invite you to do my energy audit. It is a free 5-day audit where you can literally look at all the different things that are on your plate and see what things need to be delegated, what things need to be dismissed, what things maybe just need to be readjusted. So you can get that energy audit at my website, brandsbybrie.com/energy. And if you are in need of community, like we've been talking about here, and you're like, hey, I need to get alongside other moms because I am starting a business, or I'm thinking about starting a business, and maybe they can help push me over the edge, check out my website, masteryourmomentum.co, and find out more information about my membership.
That's wonderful. And I'll be sharing all your links, my website, and all this that you just mentioned when I share this conversation.
Thank you so much, Simone.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for coming in. I love this conversation so much.
Me
and
too.
I will see you around everywhere on social media.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.